What's good, YouTube? Quasar here. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys my Quantum Monarch deck profile. So starting off, we play 3 copies of Aether. Pretty standard. If you don't know what Aether does, when you tribute Summoner, you get to send 2 Monarch spell and trap cards from deck to graveyard in order to special summon another one of your Monarchs. Usually you're going to be going for Kiraz. But yeah, you want to be playing 3. Also 3 copies of Erebus. You know, these are your big boss monsters. Again, when it's tribute summoned, you can send your 2 Monarch spell and traps from deck to grave in order to shuffle a card from hand, field, or graveyard back into deck. So again, those are your boss monsters. Aether, you can banish a card, Monarch spell and trap from grave. You can use that effect on your opponent's turn, so it can do a lot of disruption plays. And when Erebus is in your graveyard, you can discard a Monarch spell and trap in order to add a Monarch back to hand. So your boss monsters there. I also play 1 copy of Thestalos. Really good for seeing what your opponent's playing. So like if you open this is like your optimal first turn go-to. 1 copy of Majesty's Fiend to shut down basically pretty much any other meta deck. No monster effects can be activated. Angmeryl. Angmeryl is actually a really good Monarch. Whenever it's tribute summoned, banish one of your spell cards from your graveyard in order to add another copy of that banished one from deck to hand. So it's a free plus, and it gets you pretty much whatever spell you need that you already have in graveyard. So really good there. Play only 1 copy of Kiraz. I think that's all you need. You just need to resolve its effect 1 time, and you're usually pretty good after that. 2 copies of Adia. Because we're playing the Quantum build, you only really need 2. And 2 copies of Eidos. Pretty much same thing, you know. Quantum build only need 2, so 2 copies of Red Layer. I know a lot of people like playing 3. I think 2 is optimal because I'm also playing the 1 copy of Blue Layer. Now Red Layer special summons itself. Blue Layer is just your E-Telly target, and then of course when it is summoned you can then add the Red Layer from deck to hand. So you know, more pluses there. So that's it for your monsters. Moving on to the spells. 3 copies of Pantheism. Pantheism's of course like your main Monarch spell. You can send 1 other Monarch spell from hand to graveyard, draw 2 cards, and then of course when it's in the graveyard, banish it, reveal 3 spell traps. Your opponent chooses 1. They don't have to be different, just in case anyone didn't know that. 3 copies of Tenacity just to maintain consistency and search power. 3 copies of Domain. We aren't playing any extra decks, so you want to see this card often as well. 3 copies of Stormforth. Really good against Cosmos now, especially now that their new support's out, so Stormforthing them is always good. 1 copy of Return. You don't need to be playing any more of that. You basically just use that to get your Aether and pretty much use it on your opponent's turn, and then usually once you pull off your combos, you're in a good situation and you'll most likely win. 2 copies of Twin Twister just to get rid of that back row. Mask of Restrict is still a thing. E-Telly's now at 2, so of course we're playing 2 copies of it just to get out your Blue Layer. 1 Regeki, of course, nukes boards. 1 copy of Rhoda, it searches out your idea. Foolish, you can foolish a lot of different things. One thing that's really good about it though is that when a D is sent to grave, you can add one of your banished monarch spell and traps back, so that's usually a combo that you're going to be pulling off with Foolish Burial. So that's it for the spells. Now moving on to the traps, just simply I'm playing 2 copies of the Prime Monarch. You don't really need 3, 2's good enough. I felt 2 is always good. You can just combo these off so much and do so many different shenanigans with the Prime Monarch. I love this card. And the last card I'm playing is 1 copy of Solemn Scolding. You don't usually set, so it's really easy to pull this off. Unfortunately, it is 3,000 life points. A little bit steep, but definitely worth it to make sure your combos go off. And, you know, you're usually gonna pull it off if there's something that you just cannot deal with. Your opponent just activates something and you just can't deal with it. That's why you're playing the Scolding. So that's it for my deck. No extra deck. So I hope you guys enjoy this deck profile. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.